Hey guys, this is the third companion episode to our series on the perfect React and serverless environment setup. This time we're gonna basically set up our organization, our structure for different environments, and this code will be available on our GitHub repo. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I did want to show you that the only thing you'll have to do is make sure that you do the prerequisites from the last episode and make sure you have an AWS entry in your credentials file that looks like this. Obviously with the XXX is replaced. Um, so let me explain first what this does and why it does it the way we do it. AWS says for best practices that each client should get their own AWS account, and not even just each client, obviously, but each client environment, and not even each client environment, but basically each project for each client should have its own environment. So what this means is if you have number of projects for a single client, you'll have at least three environments for each project. You'll have the development environment, the staging environment, and the production environment. Each of these will be a separate account. Basically what this does is it silos the data and prevents, makes access control easier, because you basically just give developers full access to an account, minus the billing and everything like that, but pretty much give them full access to an account, because all that account is a single production on a single project on a single environment kind of thing. So for example, the dev team may have access to the development and staging accounts for project one, but maybe only the lead developer or the project manager has access to project one production account to push deployments to the final end users kind of thing. It makes management so much easier. Now, kind of setting this up is kind of a hassle, and this is where the script comes in. What the script does is it uses the AWS organizations API to create what's called an organizational unit for each client, and then under each organizational unit it creates three environments per project, as you can see here. I'll show you what it looks like in a test. I set up a test AWS organization, and it looks like this. So we have here our root, and then here's our organizational unit, which we're going to do right now, called Gunner Test. So what happens here is this script does a number of things. It creates an administrator IAM role with a trust relationship to the root account. So when you actually create the new account, you associate the IAM role. That is right here. Create account, and you have the role name, account name. So that will give this role administrative access to the new account that was created. It creates an IAM policy on the root account that allows developers to assume the role created in step one. So basically, when you run this script, you're going to pass a number of options: account name, organizational unit name, email, username, and then some optional parameters. I'll let you read through because this is pretty well documented what each does. However, the username right here is for the root account. So the username on the root account, and what that does is it places this user in this new group that's created, and you can see I kind of document it down here. Group name, the name of the IAM group to find or create. If not passed, one will be generated automatically. So it finds or creates the group, puts the user in that group, and then gives the users in this group the ability to assume the role created on the root account. Again, so that number three creates or finds the group, and then it writes to your local AWS credentials file on your local machine this entry, which gives you CLI access and helps with the serverless environment, which will allow, again, you to assume this role that has been created. That's what this all does. Running it looks something like this. If you look down here at my terminal, organizations add. So in a real world situation, you do this, you'd set up the development environment. Great, you run that. Then after that finishes, you create the staging environment. Great, it does that. And then finally you run it and create the production environment, and it does that. At the end of the day, what you'll end up getting is something like this, where you have, again, this is kind of a test here, but you have your client list here, and then down here you have your under your client list, you have your project. So here it is. Here's the gunner test project with the development, staging, and production. So let's say we added another project called gunner test again. You'd have in here under the gunner test client, you'd have 3 more accounts set up for each one of those projects and environments. So this is part of the setup process for this, and scripting it makes it very easy. And you'll see how we switch between these and deploy to each in a very quick and simple manner in the videos to come. But that is basically episode 3. We'll be talking about that on Thursday of this week at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune in for that.